All right, we will go ahead and call the Becker City Council meeting of April 2nd to order. If you'll rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mics are hot tonight.
They are.
All right, has council had a moment to look over the minutes from March 19th? If so, I'll ask for a motion of approval.
I move we approve the minutes from March 19th for the executive session and regular council meeting.
Second.
Motion from Mike, second from Todd. Any discussion on them? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Are there any additional items for this evening's agenda?
Yep. So make a motion I want to add, let's see, 9B. Assignment, change of Springstead to Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, LLC. And actually I want to make, I'll do them separate.
Yeah. Oh, separate? Okay.
Well, or do you want me to do all three?
We had all three.
Okay. So that'd be 9B, 9C, the change of investments to UBS Financial, and under 9D, the farm lease with Artie Offit Farms.
I'll second that.
Motion from Mike, second, or motion from Rick, second from Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So now if I may have a motion for approval on the agenda set this evening.
Make a motion to approve the revised agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Guest and open forum. This evening we have an annual police report presentation by Chief Balloon.
Mayor, council, good evening. And this is my opportunity to kind of get in front of you at least this time of the year, typically every year at this time, to brag or at least to talk a little bit about the Becker Police Department and the activities from the previous year, so in this case 2018. So I'll try and be brief. I know we've got a lot of things to discuss tonight, but I just want to highlight a few things from the previous year. If I wait too long past this meeting, it tends to kind of not enter into anybody's mind what happened the last year. So trying to get this stuff done in a timely manner, we wait on information from the state as well as our stuff. So it takes a while to get the information together, and that's why we're kind of waiting until April to kind of do that. So real quickly, so just the structure of the police department, we're comprised of 6 full-time officers and currently three part-time officers, and then also myself, so 7 full-time, 3 part-time. We have a reserve complement as well that volunteer with the police department. They help us just with events and that sort of thing. But the addition that we had this past year was an investigator, so that helped immensely as far as case activity, and I'll get a little bit more into that here in a second. But really the structure of the police department hasn't changed. We've been working several years without an additional supervisor. That remains vacant, and there's always discussions about what to do with that, but we'll see what time brings us in that respect. As far as the budget, the budget, I think the police department does a very good job with trying to maintain and withhold, or stay where we're at within the budget and the means of the budget. So this past year, we did that. A lot of the budget, of course, goes towards personnel and staffing and that sort of thing. So this past year, we were very fortunate with what we were allotted. We were able to stay under budget. And I can say in my tenure here with the Becker Police Department for 12 to 13 years now, we've been under budget just about every single year I've been here. So credit to my staff as well, but we've been very fortunate in that the ceiling hasn't caved in on us in one respect, getting a lot of bigger cases that can create a lot of issues for us. So things have gone well. See, the format has kind of changed a little bit here, but I'll just say this, as far as revenues, again, even on the revenue side, things have gone very well. This past year, just a couple of things. When you do get an opportunity to look at that, by the way, the annual report will actually be published online here effective tomorrow. Once it's actually presented to you, then it gets put online the following day. So you're the first ones to hear about it, actually. So a Couple things, we were $7,000 to the good on the revenue side. We try to budget appropriately and fairly as far as revenues. We don't want to get overzealous where we think we're going to land, but because you never know sometimes with fines, we don't want to get involved in generating X amount of dollars on purpose. That's certainly not allowed by law, but we do generate a healthy amount by fines and that sort of thing. Donations, of course, this year, last year was down a little bit in donations because of the last couple of years we were fortunate to receive some funds very generously from LPI to help with body cameras as well as our radio system. So very, very fortunate in that respect, and thank you, of course, again to them. Calls for service, we did see a very, very slight decrease in calls for service from the year previous. Not very much though, but things tend to stay pretty much the same across the board. Interestingly, our jump this year was that 3 o'clock time frame. 3 o'clock time frame on. So right as kids get out of school, that tends to be a busy time frame for us. Maybe no surprise. But moving forward into the evening hours, people getting home and that sort of thing, things do, we see an uptick in activity into the evening hours and early morning as well. So calls for service by time of day, typically 1 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, up to about 1 o'clock in the morning. As for day of the week, which tends to be the busiest, no surprise in one respect, weekends tend to be busiest for us, but even Wednesday on for this past year tends to be busy for us. And part of that is because we schedule an extra officer into the evening, our power shift. Every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Tuesday and Saturday tend to be kind of give me days as far as it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday 1 week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday the following week for that extra officer, depending on call activity. So not surprising that starting Wednesday things do start to tick up a little bit. Again, sorry about the formatting on here. Part 1 crimes tend to be our busiest, or I'm sorry, our more serious types of crime. I can tell you this. We saw a decrease in the numbers of Part 1 crimes, which kind of involved murder, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, larceny, auto theft, and arson. So usually the big category there is our theft. And we did see that go down this past year. So that's a good sign for us. It kind of tends to kind of go all over the map a little bit each year. So, oh, there you go. Shows up good there. So Part 2 crimes, I can say this. Again, fairly stagnant. Oh, great. Oh, I get it. Thank you, Greg. Part 2 crimes, not a lot of changes for the most part there, but I would call your attention to a couple of things. When you look at family and children type crimes or incidents, we saw a significant increase there, and that's related to social service requests involving activity that we need to look into involving families, crimes related to families, which also poses another issue for us, unfortunately, with sex-related crimes with children. We saw an uptick there as well. So thus, creates a need for us to have an experienced investigator, which thankfully we have now, that spends quite a bit of time involved in cases such as that, with interviews, gathering of evidence, search warrants, and that sort of thing. So that has been very helpful in that respect. Additional kind of activity that we do see from year to year is just kind of illustrated in the next slide. But I would point out one thing. You know, we, as a smaller department, spend a significant amount of time on traffic activity. Traffic activity relates to crime as well. So the more visible and the more active you are with your traffic enforcement tends to reduce crime in most communities, and we do see a lot of that as well. However, I would say this, with the number of traffic stops, which numbered 2,350 last year, we had 1,923 warnings that were issued as a result of that. That's an 82% rate. That is high. So I would say this to you folks, if you hear folks that would come to you and say, man, the cops are out there writing a lot of tickets, we're not. We by far are giving more warnings than I would bet most of the communities around us are even coming close to. We typically have hovered around the 75% range, so we are more on the side of educating and warning the public about driving conduct and behaviors more than anything else. So we are not heavy-handed in that respect, and the numbers do point to that and do show that. Additionally, you know, one of the other calls that just seemed to jump up were medicals. So that speaks to why we encourage our officers, and we train them to a level of first responder. While other communities are going away from that, we're not. We're staying at a higher level on purpose. You know, we've got a very good response rate here for calls in general, but when it comes to medicals, we will retain our first responder certificates. We've got a great fire department, obviously, that responds to medicals with us, and the ambulance that's often in town as well. So for a smaller community, I can say this, we are very fortunate in that respect. One thing I didn't mention, our clearance rate. When we talk about calls for service, Becker is way ahead of the state average as far as clearance rates. We're right around that 75% mark, where the state average is right around 49 to 60%. So when it comes to getting cases taken care of and disposed of appropriately, we're way ahead, that's obviously a good sign. A couple other things real quick. Body camera process, that's going to be discussed a little bit tonight. Going very well for us. We've generated, I mentioned to our city attorney just a minute ago, within over approximately a year, we've generated over 8,000 videos just from our body camera process. And it's working very well for us, and I know the officers, they tend to like it, which is great. And lastly, we saw one big change from our department last year. June Hubbard, as you know, retired last year, our 30-year administrative secretary. We got a new gal that's working for us in that capacity. Kristen Ganyu is her name, doing an excellent job, found a lot of efficiencies for us, just remarkable. So with that, I don't know if you have any questions. Again, I just want to highlight a few things, and things are going very well. We're very active in the community, as you know. You see us probably a lot of places. We're fortunate. In a community that we live in, we have a lot of police officers that live here, and I think that says something. Police officers tend to go where it's quiet, where there's not a lot of activity when you get off duty and stuff like that. So we're fortunate to have a lot of police officers that live in the community here, from St. Cloud to Sherburne County to wherever. But again, great community here. We've had a good year, and again, I don't know if you have any questions or comments or concerns.
Thank you for putting it together. We always appreciate it.
Very good. Again, it will be online effective probably tomorrow morning for the public to see. Thank you, Council. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we are in the guest and open forum. Anybody else address council? Good evening, Mr. Wilbur. Come on up. Well, it's hard to hear. Are you able to maybe go to the microphone? Okay. Can everybody hear him?
We can. The folks at home won't be able to, but
I can hear him, but like you said, the folks at home won't be able to hear him. That's fine.
Go ahead.
Yep.
down to the other side. As long as you people keep throwing the snow on the other side of the trail, by going ahead and doing what they want to do, ain't going to help it, because all the snow there, it ain't going to drain anyway. And so flood out and flood out the other way, just like it's been. The only way it's going to take care of it is put throw the snow my way, and that don't just start. And last year they started throwing it the other way, but they waited until they got even with the house, and then they threw it the other way. And then when they threw it, it went over the bank, and then the snowplow would come along and plow that right into my driveway every darn time. That's what was happening. And the other was left out there with a low part wood. Nothing was done about that. So, if you want to get together with the county and talk it over, that's up to you people.
Wilbur, if I may answer you, is that okay? I think it would be a great idea if you wanted to talk more in private off of this meeting, and we can definitely help you talk to the county in regards to it. Maybe we can understand what the county is wanting and what our conversation was a couple months ago. I think Mike was the one that addressed you in trying to help with the situation. Would that be okay if we set up something outside of this evening's meeting with you? Mike, I can put Mike in charge.
Yeah, because I'm not aware of, Wilbur didn't call me about this at all.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of this.
Is that okay, Wilbur?
They just called me today.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted to get started at it, and I told them that I wanted to find out many things as far as that driveway. I told them to go ahead and do it. What they wanted to do is slope the land down from kind of a hollow part of what it used to be a ditch that they filled in. If they want to slope it down, because there's a drain down there, so there's a drain there. If I can't have a driveway on this end, where they can make a crosswalk and a driveway all in one, like you do down the other way. If they can't do that, well then if I have to end up putting the driveway down on the other side, this deal that they're talking about, if you've got a trail up higher than what my land is, and you come off the road, and you come up like that, and go down like that, and have to build this up over here, that's as far as the driveway, by filling that in for a driveway, that's gonna completely do away with how they plan on drainage. Understand what I'm saying?
I do. I absolutely agree with what your frustration point is and your level. But I think it'll be a good idea if you, Mike, and I sit down and discuss maybe what the county has proposed to you and what we all, and maybe we can all talk about it and all the possible solutions. With that, we might have a couple other people too. I think, Chris, I probably would invite you and probably a county person or two. Would that work okay for you?
Notified me today on call.
Should we send a notification to wait?
Last year they didn't get started with anything till way tail end. And kind of got the stakes up and everything. It already started freezing. I told them that I just assumed the week of spring instead of be a good idea because they would be able to finish it up then anyway.
Yeah, excellent idea. We'll send message to the county that we are going to help in the mediation process of this, kind of get a good idea of what's going on with the knowledge base, if that's okay. We'll let them know so that they don't do anything until they hear back from you or us or whoever we decide is the contact. All right. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right. So Wilbur, we'll set something up after the meeting. And Mike, would you mind? I know if you want to leave Wilbur, you can.
Yeah, I can get a hold of Wilbur tomorrow.
Excellent. Does that work for you?
Well, later on today.
All right.
Yeah, depending on what time we get out of here, but I mean, if you didn't want to stick around, I'd get a hold of you tomorrow. Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit of a duration this evening, so feel free, okay? Whenever you feel. All right. Anybody else wish to address council this evening? There are no public hearings this evening, so feel free. Otherwise, we will move on. Excellent. All right, committee reports, budget and finance.
Budget and Finance, we met on March 21st. couple of things we talked about. Adventure zone was a little high due to the snow storms. It seemed like everybody stayed home with their children, so the expenses were up a little bit. That cash beginning of the month that we're talking that we thought was 88,000 actually was 46,175.17, so much less than what we thought. Snow plowing was high this year too, just because it never stopped snowing. Accounts receivable is looking real good, and we're gonna be going over the audit on April 18th. Anything I missed, Rick?
All right. Planning Commission.
Planning Commission, we just had one thing. We had a public hearing for a easement vacation on a property in the industrial park, and that is actually in our consent agenda for tonight.
Any other meetings that were,
Excel advisory was canceled.
same with joint planning? Okay. Board, committee, and consultant reports. Jetstream, tax abatement requests. Marie Flipson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight before you is the request from Jetstream LLC for a 20-year tax abatement. This would be for a new data center facility. Last meeting here, we had the public hearing. So tonight the discussion was continued. Just a reminder, the project would be for the construction of a 375,000 square foot data center on about 300 acres, which is currently owned by Excel. The project would be a roughly $600 million capital investment and a minimum of 50 jobs, and then also for the construction phase, it'd be approximately 2,300 construction jobs. Since the last meeting, the county board has approved the county version of this on March 26th. So tonight before you is Resolution 1906, approving the tax abatement for Jetstream LLC. If you have any questions, otherwise I recommend approval.
Council, have any questions for Marie before we? Just a reminder to the public and to anyone watching that like this evening's abatement approval or denial, which however it goes through, is not a done deal then for Jetstream still. There's still the wait for the legislature, there's still a wait for the PUC, and there's still, of course, Jetstream's decision. So tonight is just another box that has been checked in order to keep moving on to what we hope is a final goal for our city. So.
We should probably add too that, you know, there's not a lot of discussion here tonight, but obviously this isn't the first time we've talked about this. This has been ongoing for a while. So.
Right, yeah.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 1906.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Todd. Any other discussion or comments from council? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. 2019 body camera audit. Chief Balloon.
Good evening once again, council. Mine is not nearly as fun as that. I'm asking for an audit, of course. So as you recall, a couple years ago, or a year and a half ago, when we authorized the use of body cameras, part of the statutory part of that, I guess if you will, is that we have to or are required under statute to complete an audit every 2 years in relation to our use, making sure there's an appropriate use, what we're using it for, retention, that sort of thing. As part of the process, I started looking into this, and unfortunately, the state has not given very good guidance on how we would handle this type of process. In addition to other agencies or the BCA, there's not a real good defined part of or a process to deal with this. And everybody's kind of in the same boat as trying to how are we going to deal with it to make sure we're compliant with the state statute. As part of that, I had obtained some information that Burnsville is currently going through the process. They are, if you didn't know, one of the first police departments in the country to get body cameras. So they decided, well, we will take a hit for everybody and be the first organization or group to go through the audit. So I checked with League of Minnesota Cities and then also checked with, they actually directed me to the state auditor's office. State auditor is the one that actually conducted the compliance check or audit on Burnsville. So I did solicit information from the state auditor's office relative to the audit, the process, what it would entail, and thankfully, and maybe to our credit, as we, as you know, selected Axon as our vendor for body cameras. They're very familiar with Axon. A lot of the agencies they've dealt with and done audits for now actually have the Axon body camera system. So when you look at the engagement letter that they actually sent us, what they lay out, we've already got it. So that's kind of nice, and it kind of comes out of the playbook of what Axon actually has. So in soliciting information from them, they did provide an engagement letter to conduct the audit. It runs in the ballpark. They can't give a specific figure unless, until they get here to actually get done with the work, and how many hours, how many videos and stuff like that that they select to review and the process. So they've given Greg and I a kind of a ballpark figure of somewhere in the range of about $3,000 to $4,000 to complete the audit. I suspect that's going to be true, knowing that Burnsville was in the ballpark of $4,500, and they're obviously a much bigger department, thousands and thousands and thousands of videos compared to what we would have. So I suspect we're going to be probably closer to the lower end of that when all is said and done. They do provide information to show what we are compliant with as far as state statute. They're not a regulatory arm in the sense that they will come in and slap us if we have something wrong. They will recommend things as it relates to the statute. So I think that's good. From what I've heard, it's been a very positive experience for those agencies that have been involved. So what I've done in the meantime is I did solicit the engagement letter from the auditor's office to move forward. I did ask that Greg's name be attached to that. Not so if there's something wrong, he's the other guy. But they, I think, wanted to make sure somebody from the city beyond me was attached to that as well. So Greg was the obvious person, I think, to be attached to that. So what I'm asking for tonight is approval to move forward with the audit with the state auditor's office, and with the authorization that Greg and I signed the agreement with them. So approval and a second, or a motion to approve and a second would be appreciated. If you have any questions, I'll answer those.
This is mandatory.
It is. Yes.
Mandatory to have the audit, but they have not laid out the entire process as far as.
Mandatory to spend some money, in other words.
Yeah.
I will say this, initially when departments started talking about this through the chiefs group, they were looking in the ballpark of $10,000 to $15,000. Well, as you can imagine, the chiefs were not happy. I suspect the sheriffs either, and started complaining and wondering, what is the state going to do to help us? And I think this is one of the remedies that has kind of got forced maybe upon the auditor's office to start helping other agencies. There are other groups that are willing to do this that we are now finding, yet unknown. So I think for us, the idea being is let's get the auditor to come in here, give us a clean bill of health, let's hope, and things look fine. I suspect they will be, and then moving forward, we will be on good standing with the way things are set up. I think things are set up very well already, but it doesn't hurt to have somebody come in and take a look and just maybe make some recommendations if that's necessary. So again, a motion and a second would be appreciated from the council to move forward with that.
Okay.
Make a motion to allow Greg and Brent to sign the agreement with the state auditor for the body camera audit.
I'll second that.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Chief Balloon. You are up next again. Administrator and staff reports, Minnesota Court Data Service Access.
Thank you. Before you is Resolution 19-17, authorizing myself to enter into an agreement with basically judicial access. And what this is a access for the police department to obtain records through the courts relative to dispositions, order for protections, restraining orders, that sort of thing. We have, like everybody, we have basic access and public access to their records. We're, from what I've found, one of the few departments that doesn't really have this. And so the thought being is sometimes dispositions coming from the courts can be relatively slow. It's there, we just don't have the information, and it helps us clear things quicker. in addition to access to restraining orders, orders for protections. We know they're there because we can bring it up on other computer records, but we don't have access to them. So those are a couple of the examples of records that we would be able to obtain, restraining orders, orders for protections, dispositions. That's what we're asking for. Kristen's the one that actually found this for us, and they had this where she used to work, and actually we had this where I used to work as well prior to Becker, but we don't have it here. So the request, of course, under the agreement, we have to have a signed agreement with the judicial services, as well as a resolution authorizing me to enter into an agreement with them to gain access. I will point out, the only people that are going to have access to this is myself, Kristen, and our investigator. We've decided that the entire staff doesn't need to have access. I think one thing is too much access sometimes can create problems, and we weren't necessarily a part of a lot of the other past things, but we don't want to encourage that either. So a lot of things are already in place against that, but it's for legitimate, law enforcement purpose use only. So that's why we're limiting it within our department as well. So again, motion and a second authorizing me to enter into that agreement with the state here would be appreciated.
Make a motion. We adopt resolution 1917, authorizing the chief to enter into an agreement.
Motion from Mike, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you, Council.
Assignment change of Springstead to Baker Tilly Municipal Advertisers. Connie Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So on January 10th, 2019, Springstead announced its intention to combine with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. It's a financial services and accounting firm, and the combination is expected to be final in April. So right now that affects our debt obligations, and so tonight we're asking for a motion and second to approve the assignment change from Springstead to Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors LLC. And so if you have any questions, I can answer those.
It's just a merger of the two companies, is that
Yes,
what I'm
and our
understanding?
service won't be interrupted. It's just a combination. It opens other services if we're so inclined to use those services too.
Okay. So really this evening's ask is because of the merger, just to change the name on our service
Exactly.
contract? Okay. Well, sorry, no, I was going to define the word legit. I meant like simple, understandable.
Make a motion, we approve the assignment change of Springstead to Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors LLC.
Second it.
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And then change of investments to UBS Financial.
Sure, okay, so in late 2018, Morgan Stanley announced that they were going to be changing their requirements for the holding of municipal investments. So now they're requiring a $10 million minimum. So this change will require the city of Becker to move its funds to another financial institution. So this kind of allows us to consolidate our debts and put them into the custody of UBS Financial. UBS specializes in municipal securities, allowing the city to maximize returns on portfolio and reduce costs on transactions. The change will not affect the city's ability to utilize other service providers, but will allow the city to better track the activity and stay in compliance with state statutes and audit requirements. So tonight we're asking for a motion and second to approve the change to UBS Financial. And I can answer any questions.
What was the minimum?
You know, I don't think, I'm not sure what the minimum was.
Okay.
I just know we were notified that we didn't meet the new $10 million requirements, of course, so it's kind of we have to do something with those investments.
So we don't have $10 million just sitting around, huh?
Not there, no.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the change to UBS Financial.
The motion from Rick, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Again, you're up next. Farm lease with R.D. Offutt Farms.
Okay, so R.D. Offutt is interested in farming the land near the industrial park. I think it's right behind T.J. Potter. There's 4 different lots that Imholt Farms has previously leased. Attached is the agreement leasing the land to R.D. Offutt for the crop year of 2019. If you have any questions, I can answer those. Otherwise, a motion and second to approve going into that lease with R.D. Offutt would be appreciated.
Make a motion to approve the lease with R.D. Offutt for the property in the industrial park for 2019.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Todd. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Cable franchise agreement with Mid-Continent Communications. David Shops.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Once again, my name is David Shops. I'm the Assistant City Attorney here. Before you tonight is Ordinance 212, Second Series, which is a renewal of the cable television franchise agreement with Mid-Continent Communications. It's quite a lengthy document, so I did provide a survey, a summary of it. The term of it would be 15 years. The last one was 15 years. Installation would be a resident would not have to pay if they were less than 300 feet from a node. So the company would be providing the installation to a new home. We still have our 2 PEG channels from the old agreement. There's a PEG access fee that we have on there. That's not something that the city currently utilizes, but Mid-Continent doesn't pay any more dollars, any more grant fund dollars to upgrade city council or chambers. And so you can actually put a fee in place if you want to have Mid-Continent collect that and then give it to the city. The city would use it for upgrades.
And that's optional, right?
That's optional, yes. And some cities use it, some cities don't. It's just what they want to do on that. It talks about system provisions, service provisions. We have indemnification and insurance information. That's all up in current. And then we retained the franchise fee language, which allows the city to collect a 5% of gross revenues that would then gets transferred to the city. We've currently left that in place. Usually if that gets negotiated out of a franchise agreement, you never get it back. And so it's kind of a holdover from when a lot of these agreements were negotiated in the 1990s. There are remedies for if Mid-Continent would abandon, foreclose, or go into receivership. And then one of the things that changed was that in the prior franchise agreement, Mid-Continent had a $20,000 security bond that they just kept with the city at all points in time. They're moving away from that, and so we've designed a process and a system by which if there is a violation found, they've got to escrow money to the city so we can investigate it. And then they have a process by which they can come to the city council and challenge that. And then last section just talks about subscriber rights and privacy to the system. And overall, we think that it's a fair and reasonable agreement that we have negotiated. One of the things that does come up is that these are large documents. City councils want to take some time to look at them. And so we have provided an option by which we could pass a resolution extending the franchise for another 2 months if the council would like to discuss this a little bit more. And I would stand for any questions.
I did have some questions on the document. Obviously, being kind of on short notice, I would move that we do the resolution to extend the current agreement for 2 additional months, which would give us time to discuss the deal that's been presented.
And I've talked to Mid-Continent on that, and they're completely fine with it.
Okay.
I have a question on the bond. Why, is that normal that they're going away from that, or?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's one of their big sticking points, is that they don't want to have $20,000 or $15,000 bonds in all these different cities and then not be able to keep track of them. Whereas they said, if you're going to say that we're in violation of the franchise, you can demand that we write a check right there and present a bond, and then we go by a process where they get notice and opportunity to be heard and to gather evidence to see if there's actually a violation in place.
They just throw $10,000 and $20,000 around and don't know where it's at?
Yep.
Geez, they can put it in my bank account.
Well, and that's why they wanted to get away from that and then get to the point where if a specific city says you're in violation, then they know who they're dealing with and what the process is.
I get it.
So they just have one big line of credit or
I think so.
Okay. I believe we had dealt with that with other, locally as well, so that was something.
So did you make a motion to extend it for 2 months then?
I guess I said I move. I will officially make the motion then to do, be resolution 2019-20, which would extend the existing agreement with Mid-Continent for an additional 60 days.
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Without any, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Shops.
Thank you.
City Council support for House File 2031. Mr. Krasinski.
Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you. So it came to my attention that there is a bill working through the House of Representatives reforming local government aid. Does a couple of things, the reform part of it, but it also does something that would impact our community. They're talking about doing a 2% set aside, so basically all the money that's in the LGA account, 2% of that gets set aside for those communities that currently are not subject to LGA, so we'd get a payout under the LGA rules and regulations. From my perspective, I thought it was a good idea to get it in front of the City Council, ask for your support. I know there were some questions on the City Council, so maybe what I'll end up doing here is just opening up for some discussion. I did have a chance to take a look. So this is a House file. It has had at least one hearing as far as I could tell, but it does not have a Senate companion yet. I think final deadlines are coming up maybe in a week or two as far as legislation is concerned. So that being said, I would move to open that up to the City Council for conversation as far as direction and whatnot.
Well, I'll start.
You start, I'll finish.
Okay. Just because you can doesn't mean you should in all cases. And I'm speaking, more for myself here, but when we talk about we don't receive, maybe for folks that don't understand, we don't receive LGA, local government aid. Is something from the state. The state gives money to local municipalities. We don't receive that. I don't know if we ever have, but it's has a large part to do with Sherco. We have a large utility taxpayer here in town, and that's a large reason for it. Things are, of course, changing there, but we're being okay. This bill here that's on the House side is a revision of they're going to revise LGA, and I think I had I can share with maybe everybody else when we interact with other cities. It seems like every year it's a fight. If you're on LGA, you're down at the state, you're asking for more money. You're saying, please increase our LGA, please increase, every year it seems like that is it's a constant thing. I know when we went and toured a couple of years ago, we looked at potentially joining with, there's a coalition of greater Minnesota cities, so it's, cities outside of the metro area. Number one thing on their legislative agenda, getting more LGA. I mean, it's a constant situation that it puts you in, kind of beholden to the state, so to speak. I support reforming LGA, but not in this sense, I guess. So the net benefit, yes, the city would receive some money if we were to move on to LGA at some point. And that's really what this was. There's about 20% of the cities, I believe it said, just going by the language in the bill there, that there was like 20% of the cities in Minnesota that don't receive LGA, and so they basically said, okay, let's get the remaining 20% on there. And so I would imagine this request went out to every one of those 20, every city of that 20%. There's other ways to do it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't want us to get involved in there, beholden to the state. And, I mean, if we're really concerned about reforming LGA, there's other ways to do it. We can have other conversations about it. It isn't a tremendous amount of money. It's on, I think it was just a hair under $100,000 in this case. But, what you say, everything counts. But, like I said, there's other ways to do it. We can talk about other ways to reform LGA. If that's really a discussion we want to have, it's typically not. I don't know. That's my opinion on it, I guess. I would, and being that the bill has no Senate counterpart, is probably not going anywhere this year, I would be okay not taking a vote on it at all. But I guess for this language of this particular vote, if we were to go to a vote, I would be a no vote.
So is it the formula that you don't agree with, or the whole standardization of LGA?
The whole LGA process, money goes out and we beg for it back. I don't like that the bigger process. If we want to talk about reforming LGA, I'd like to, I don't know that that's even a fight the city really needs to get involved. That'd be something maybe we could do more personally if we felt so inclined. But to say we support this rendition is what we're saying. I mean, and really the only reason we're saying it is because we would get some money out of it. But to say we support this rendition of the reformation of LGA.
I look at it a little bit different. I look at it as supporting this supports the process of LGA, and then it supports also the enhancement of the formula per se of it. And knowing that with the decommissioning of Sherco, it kind of puts us closer to having to pay attention to what's going on in the LGA world. So that's why I counterpart your hesitation.
You don't care about LGA, you just care about the money that we would
Well,
receive.
if it's already there, I mean, the question isn't, is the governor putting aside LGA money? I mean, that's been said. So if it's there, and why not get in line for it? Everybody else is.
For the amount, I guess I'm inclined to agree with Rick on this. I'm not opposed to supporting it, but I don't know if I want to be involved in it. For the hassle you got to go through to get it, if you want to get the money out of it.
Right. So is this, sorry, I may have missed a sentence or two. The House file is basically asking for just the support of the process, right? Not a dollar amount and how it's paid
Right.
out. I mean, it's out reallocating the formula and how it works, and
They want support for that.
They're changing the formula. The result of said formula change,
Didn't.
which I think they said in the
Yeah.
letter, would result in
$98,000.
$98,000
Yeah.
to Becker.
so showing support for the House file isn't saying this is exactly what we want. I mean, it's more of a
So if we don't
support to the
support it,
process.
that's the question, if we don't support it.
No vote on it. You don't have to vote. I mean, the bill's going to die this year most likely anyway, so it's going to be another reincarnation in another year with some other language.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's-
they take the same one.
Well,
maybe they
well,
don't.
I think I saw something today, I read something today about next Thursday, I think is the deadline for, so if nothing happens by next Thursday, nothing's going to happen.
think that is the next committee deadline, or the
Yeah.
third and final of the session.
I guess I don't have a problem supporting the concept of it, you know.
Mary Murphy, the chair of the Capital Investments Committee, who we went to ask for the 20 million for the infrastructure of the industrial business park, did ask if we received LGA, and Marie, do you remember what the second question, there was a follow-up question that she had asked, do you know when we will be getting LGA? So I know that that doesn't like signify one way or another, but I just thought you should know that that committee did ask about LGA.
Right, that's why, I guess if they're doing something, I guess, being as we want to get something from them, it's probably is to our advantage to support what they're looking for.
You're supporting this whole rendition of it too, though. I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only interested because there's money in it for us. I don't think anybody here really cares about LGA, but
Puts us in a box.
we're saying we support this.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Mayor, City Council. So, I want to respond to a couple things. The first thing I want to respond to is the notion that the only reason that we're interested in it is because there's money in it for us. That is true, but that's all LGA is money for local governments. So, I mean, that's true. That is why we're interested. So that's the first thing I wanted to comment on. The second thing that I wanted to comment on is I anticipate eventually we will qualify for the formula, likely because of the decommissioning. I don't know the formula and all the rules, mostly because, it doesn't apply to us, so why spend a bunch of time on it? But I also come from the standpoint that if they're changing the rules, I want to help change the rules because then I can change them to influence it to come our way. I think that's smart. And then the third thing that I would say is when it comes to LGA, it's always a hot topic in Minnesota. And you're right, communities that don't get as much as others cry foul. It's kind of part of the political landscape when it comes to munis in Minnesota. At the same time, sometimes you gotta stand up, ask, be counted, be engaged. So that's what this is all about, is trying to get that conversation going. Again, I like to be at the table trying to influence my own future, and that's all this is trying to do, is influence that future for those rules that could very possibly change. So. What would you like me to do, if anything?
Oh. Somebody else.
Do any other council members feel strongly one way or the other?
I'm right down the middle. I think if it influences the bigger picture,
I was going to recommend if there is no strong feelings one way or another, that we just no vote it, so that way then there's no, just take no action, therefore there's no support for it and there's no support against it, and therefore.
I would rather go that route.
yeah, I like it.
Okay. Is that okay? All right. So therefore, there's nothing that needs to be done.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for informing us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, consent agenda.
Mayor, City Council, so we have a consent agenda this evening. It is revised, so please take note of that. Item number 1, hiring and termination report form from our Becker Community Center. That is one of the revisions that we made. Item number 2, signature authority for our safety deposit box. Item number 3 is contract renewal for options. Remember, options, they do clean basically across the organization. Item number 4 is an easement vacation for 13,900 Industry Avenue Southeast. That's in resolution form. I believe Councilmember Hendrickson had alluded to that. I think our planning commission dealt with that at their last meeting. Item number 5 is a premise permit application for Becker Lions, and that's resolution 19-18. And then 4 additions, again, revised consent agenda, hiring and termination report form for the Pebble Creek Golf Club. Item number 7 is a purchase for Pebble Creek Golf Course. That's a bunker rake replacement. Item number 8 is a purchase for audio improvements. That's at our clubhouse. I believe that's upstairs in the restaurant. And then item number 9 is a conditional use permit extension. Remember that Lee Street CUP was authorized this time last year. They didn't get the project done in 2018. They would like to pick that up and try to accomplish that in 2019. That's resolution 19-19. With that, I can try to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, a motion to adopt the consent agenda for April 2, 2019.
I do have one question, and actually it's maybe more for, it's on what we had approved at the planning and zoning for the vacation of the easement. I brought up the question about how that building got built with that easement underneath it. And I never did hear back how that actually happened. But we did approve it for the council, and Marie wasn't here, so she couldn't address the issue at the time.
Julie did look up that permit, so we found the structure itself, but I don't believe we found a survey. So to our understanding, because they owned both properties, the survey wasn't required, which then would have shown the easement in the property line. So it was only a site plan showing the exterior.
So they didn't own
Boundary
both
line.
they owned both properties?
They owned both properties, so they only showed, to my understanding, the exterior outside boundary instead of that
The
center.
survey did.
There was no survey. So it was why it was not shown that there was an easement there. Today's standards, we do require the easement to show the
Okay.
boundary.
At
So
that
that's
time,
why,
it wasn't required.
to my understanding, that's what we've established.
Okay. Okay, that's good enough for me.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion from Todd, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you, Mr. Brzezinski. Payment of the bills.
Will we pay the bills?
Motion from Todd, second from Rick. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Anniversaries for the month of April. Connie Robinson, Finance Director, is celebrating 5 years with us. Cindy Kazak, an Administrative Assistant at the Community Center, is celebrating 25 years with us. Paul Hickerson, Police Officer, is celebrating his 4th year, and that goes by really fast. And Al Foss from Public Works is celebrating 23 with us. So congratulations to those folks. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If none, I'll ask for a motion to approve, or to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
A second.
Motion from Mike, second from Todd, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:59.